Yes, sir.
else, but just,
That's okay.
I want to keep this in perspective. Right now, the limit on Douglas is 1 in 20. At least that's proposed, and we do have an amendment for the 516. Cautious about the meteors. And one thing I do want to say about the tournament fishermen, if any industry has gone the extra mile in trying to address fish mortality during what they're about, it is the tournament fishing community. John Bart and his folks allowed me to go to the tournaments with them at Douglas, and the efforts that they make to care for our resource is absolutely remarkable, and I commend them for that. It's not them that I'm worried about, truly, and I don't want anybody to perceive otherwise. It is the ramifications for those folks, that 60% or whatever it is, that don't tournament fish, that don't take the care that the tournament community does, that will fish in the summer and may release, but we're going to see more dead fish. That is my caution, and that is why I think in time, 2 years, whatever, as we monitor this, we may very well be here. But I can't support this biggest step going from 1 in 20 to this step today. And I say that very, very respectfully, Commissioner Baker.
From 5 at 12 to 1 in 20. I mean, 10 years ago, we made a huge step then.
Not had one comment since I've been on this commission to take it anywhere else until you came. And I'm glad we're here because you can see that there's interest in this. But there has not been one comment since I've been voting on the fishing regulations related to this. I believe it is time. I believe it's time. And I believe some of the steps our staff took back then and the recommendations by staff and the action by commission is allowing us to have the discussions we're having today. I'm wanting to step cautiously. And if this had been coming up over the past 3 years, you probably wouldn't be hearing a peep from me. But the fact that this is just now coming up, I've said it too many times, this will be the last time, I promise you. I want to err on the side of caution.
Any other comment from the commission? I guess we could go ahead and ask if there's anybody from the audience that wants to comment on what we're discussing. Okay, I guess if that's the case, then do we need to go ahead and act on Commissioner Baker's amendment? Okay, I was going to act on that. I just wondered if that's where we were.
Chairman, I will remind you, this is not committee day, it is full commission day, so this vote will be the full commission, not the Fisheries Committee. I will make that comment.
Chairman, I have one question. Are you going to make that amendment if this doesn't work?
Other amendments can still be, it could be even compromised from there, correct?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you could go 17-3 or, I mean, whatever, but I'm just saying that we've just got to rule on Commissioner Baker's first.
Yeah, but my question was, will that come up after this?
It will come up, and I'll do that only in fairness, that if it doesn't pass, and if it passes, fine. If it doesn't pass, I owe it to you all to take it somewhere, because I do believe it needs to be taken somewhere.
I want to make sure that you added those votes up, Mr. Cannon. There's 148 people for it and 135 against it.
Details of the votes, you start talking postcards, I am where I am, and it's based on that feedback, and it's based on the feedback of my constituents in this district.
Okay, all right. We are going to go, and I will entertain a motion for Mr. Baker's amendment. Yes, second. I'm sorry. Just a second. I assume that Baker's motion's still on the floor. I'm asking for a second. Any further discussion?
You actually vote. You can discuss. You vote as the full commission. It's voted.
So we've got to go back to committee?
So What we need to do right now is we need to ask for another commissioner to make amendment to Mr. Baker's amendment, correct? I've asked for discussion, so now I'll ask for if there are any amendments to the amendment.
Standing, can I make an amendment to his amendment now?
You may make an amendment to what is pending.
Thank you.
Know then that whether Commissioner Baker's amendment passed, if we're amending his amendment, I'm confused.
If it had been in a committee, that would be different, but with the full commission, if you pass this, you've taken action as the full commission and you've passed his amendment.
So we're really not voting on it. We're still discussing what we're gonna vote on, correct?
Are you ready to vote? Apparently not.
I'm just, we're not doing it the way we usually do it. We usually amend the amendment, but we gotta pass the amendment for you.
But we do that in committee, and then that's brought to the commission. So this is commission day. So we're back to discussion, and if there are any commissioners that would like to amend this, do so now.
Assuming it is appropriate. I would propose an amendment to that's currently being considered to the smallmouth regulations for Douglas Lake to be as follows. From June 15 to October 15, a limit of 20 inches or over. From October 16 to June 14, the statewide limit of 5 smallmouth at a limit of 18 inches or larger. That would be my proposed amendment to amendment, and I assume it requires a second to be acted on.
I have a motion to have a second. Any discussion?
For Commissioner McMillan's, if this fails, this stands.
But I'm not real sure his wouldn't have passed in the first place, is what I'm saying. So I'm not sure this is very,
Council, I will ask this too. Right now, we're voting on an amendment, but we're not voting, we would still come back and vote on Proclamation 1417 as amended. Would that not be correct? So I mean, that's the way I understand it. So right now, we're voting only on the amendment, not on the final proclamation.
May I ask, Commissioner Baker, how would you like this handled? Out of respect here, would you like your amendment voted on first, as opposed to it being muddied by what I just said? And if so, I will rescind that amendment. Or would you prefer that to be, or it's your call, whatever you would prefer, sir. I think we need to vote on it, please. All right, then I will rescind my amendment.
Done.
pass this now with Commissioner Baker's, we just haven't passed the proclamation yet, so that it can still be changed?
Correct. Yes.
I want to make sure that everybody's getting their fair shake. Okay. All right.
Just for clarity. I believe Commissioner Watson seconded my amendment to the amendment. I'm rescinding that. Commissioner Watson, I would ask that we just, if Commissioner Baker's passes, I will not propose an alternate. If it does not pass, I will propose an alternate.
There was discussion about, and I want to make sure your amendment includes or does not include from June 15th to October, the 1/20. Is that part of your proposal or not?
It was not part of it. We had discussed it, and I was for June 15th to September 15th, is what we had discussed. I discussed that with Bobby's guys. They came, Bart called me after the meeting, and I said, sure, let's put that in there. I'm fine with that. And then he called me back and said he wanted to change the way he put it out to public comment as the way it was stated in the meeting. I said, okay, that's fine. I was happy to go with the June 15th to September 15th. We had talked, me and Bobby had spoke about that several times. I did not have a problem with that. Can I add that now?
Would you please make your motion?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm proposing a 5-fish limit of 16 inches on smallmouth bass at Douglas Lake with a length during the times of June the 5th, during the year-round, except between June 15th to September the 15th, 1/20.
Does everybody understand that on the commission? That what we're voting for? The only difference is between, well, we won't talk about that. We got a 16-inch, 5 creel limit, with the exception from, is it June 16th or 15th?
June 16th to September 15th.
20. All right.
The motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
He deserves a second. Yeah. Okay.
Any discussion? Okay, I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's go roll call, and it'd be a lot easier than the yeas and the nays. So, Ms. Barbara, let's roll call this vote.
Chad Baker. Jim Bledsoe. Harold Cannon. Bill Cox.
Aye.
Jeff Griggs. Connie King.
No.
Jeff McMillan. Tom Rice.
Yes.
James Stroud.
No.
David Watson.
No.
So that's okay, it's 4 yes and 6 no, failed.
All right, we'll go back to the floor for, is there another amendment?
Chairman, I'd like to propose an amendment to the smallmouth bass season on Douglas Lake. From June 15 to October 15, the limit will be 1 at a length of 20 inches or larger. From October 16th through June 14th, the limit will be the statewide limit of 5 at 18 inches or larger.
That is a motion to have a second. All right, it's been properly made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Call the roll again, please.
Chad Baker. Jim Bledsoe. Harold Cannon. Bill Cox. Jeff Griggs. Connie King.
Aye. Didn't even turn it on.
Jeff McMillan. Tom Rice.
No.
James Stroud.
Yes.
David Watson.
Yes.
It's 2 no, 8 yes.
It passes, so now I will entertain a motion to pass proclamation 1417 as amended. I have a motion to have a second. Any further discussion? Barbara, seeing how we're on a roll call deal, let's just go with it again.
Chad Baker. No. Jim Bledsoe. Harold Cannon. Bill Cox. Jeff Griggs. Connie King. Jeff McMillan. Tom Rice. James Stroud. David Watson.
Yes.
That's 2 against and 8 for.
Section 1417 as amended passes. And, Mr. McMillan, you want to move over to your next item, please?
I guess, Bob, you'll stay there and we'll talk about our commercial fishing change for proclamation 14-18.
Thank you, Commissioner McMillan. At the September commission meeting, we passed a series of regulation changes in the commercial fishing and and turtle and mussling proclamation. One of them was dealt with the number of nets that were allowed during the paddlefish season. What was passed was 12 gill nets during the paddlefish season only. They were limited to that many. At the August commission meeting, prior to that, when we did the preview, we proposed the same thing. And at least one commercial fisherman asked a question if that would apply to fishing with smaller mesh nets to fish for buffalo and catfish and perhaps Asian carp. And kind of took us, we were on the spot, we didn't have time to think about it, but we didn't see any reason why not. Since that time, we've had a chance to think about it a little more and realize that there are, as with a lot of regulations, a lot of times we don't see all the unintended consequences about regulation in ways that either for intentional or maybe unintentional reasons, they're not as effective. So we stuck with the original proposal of 12 gill nets during the paddlefish season, but because there was a request to have more than that for fishing for buffalo and catfish and Asian carp, we were asked to reconsider the regulation to allow for more nets to be used for those other species of fish. So this is why we're bringing this back forward. Currently, the 12 gill nets that we passed applies only those with a paddlefish permit. No, excuse me. It applies, keep going out, but what we're recommending is that it only applies to those with a paddlefish permit, the 12 gill nets. There would be unlimited nets, and that's 3-inch to 4-inch mesh on the Mississippi River, 3-inch to 4.5 mesh everywhere else that nets are allowed for all other commercial fishers. The only legal gear for paddlefish is 6-inch mesh gill nets or larger statewide, 5-inch or larger for the Mississippi River. And the reason we have to separate those is it's all deals with bycatch that we talked about at during the August and the September commission meeting in regards to paddlefish especially. The 12 gill nets reduces bycatch, reduces pressure on the paddlefish population. We also talked about, we changed the season. We amended the length limit, and we over time we're going to reduce the number of commercial fishermen. So that all ties into to pressure on the paddlefish population as well as the bycatch that we're trying to reduce. So we would allow commercial fishers, if they choose to fish for buffalo and catfish and they want to use the smaller mesh nets, they would be allowed to do so, but if they have a paddlefish permit, they're restricted to the 12 nets, and they have to be 6-inch mesh or larger statewide or 5-inch or larger on the Mississippi River. They'll have to make that choice. And the other thing is, we haven't gotten the official letter yet, but I've gotten an email from the Fish and Wildlife Service that said that they did have a positive finding with our regulation changes to be able to, for those paddlefish that are taken legally, be able to be exported not only from the Mississippi River but also statewide too. And this is all tied in with that. Our regulation changes that we made back in September are tied in with the positive finding. So if we change that in any way, it could they could change their mind and not give a positive finding. There's potential for that.
So you're saying with regulations that we proposed in September that the federal fish, U.S. Fish is going to now let exporting to occur?
Correct.
With these regulations?
Yeah.
Are you through? I'm sorry.
No, I did want to say that the other reasons that we're trying to separate, and And the unintended consequences of the intentional or non-intentional is the bycatch with the nets. If we allowed the 12 6-inch nets plus unlimited number of those smaller nets, some of the bycatch would occur in the smaller nets, whether it was intentional. In some cases, the commercial fisherman might want to abuse the limit number of 12 nets by using more of the smaller mesh nets and setting them out, and they could potentially catch more paddlefish that way. So the 12 nets is, again, to try to reduce pressure and try to eliminate bycatch. And again, the 12 net restriction would only apply during the paddlefish season. Anytime beyond that, commercial fishermen can use unlimited number of nets of those 3 to 4 inch on the Mississippi River and 3 to 4.5 everywhere else.
Again, what is the time limit on that paddlefish season?
It's good question. November for statewide, everywhere but the Mississippi River, it's November the 20th through April the 7th. And then on the Mississippi River, it's November 15th through April 15th.
Did you put this out for public comment here? Was this last month also?
Well, we put what we proposed out, yes, the original recommendation. We had, yes, this was out on our, we had the original recommendation for the 12-inch was out for public comment when we proposed it in August.
But you've changed it since then to add this saying that they can only do it during the paddlefish season. Was that put out for public comment?
We're actually making it more liberal. We're allowing them to use those unlimited number of smaller nets. The way we had it in September, they were all commercial fishermen were only allowed 12 nets, period.
Thank you.
Percentage of commercial fishermen also fish for paddlefish? I just wondered what that percentage was.
We sell about 300 commercial fishing licenses, and not all of those licenses are sold for people that fish full-time. Some of those people just do it to have an extra number of trot lines or maybe to catch some fish for a fish fry or something. But that we know that there are only 63 paddlefish permits currently, so, or maybe, I guess it could be a couple of non-residents, but 65 maybe, and so a third.
All right. Is there any other comments from the commission or questions for Bobby? From the audience?
My name is Benson Kinsey. I'm a commercial fisherman, and I have a paddlefish permit, and I also buffalo and catfish. And under these regulations, I couldn't do both at the same time, because if I put out, 5 paddlefish nets, that would only limit me to 7 catfish sets. And you're talking about catching, a 50 cent a pound fish versus a paddlefish. What I'm saying is I had to do both because that's the way my business is. And this was not put out on public notice. I mean, I think we got a letter, Monday, we got a letter about these changes. That they're going to make it only for, where I can only fish 12 nets, the 6-inch nets. And if I got out 12 paddlefish nets, then I can't fish any catfish nets at all,
I was under the impression that this is what we recommended in August, but we just are trying to clarify it because there was questions about it. But I don't know. I mean, am I correct or not?
At the August preview, one of the commercial fishermen asked me if this would apply to fishing for buffalo catfish with the smaller mesh nets. And I believe I said
no,
I didn't think it would apply.
That it would not. They said
right.
no,
So,
that it would not.
but we've had time to think about that. We never did change the proposal. We just I made a statement. This is trying to clarify that the fact that I made that statement and try to allow for the people who don't fish for paddlefish to be able to fish with more nets than 12.
Okay, but for instance, like if I go catfishing tonight and I don't have any paddlefish nets out, I still can only fish 12 nets.
Because you got a paddlefish.
Because I have a paddlefish permit, even though I'm not even going paddle fishing, I'm still limited to 12 nets, even though I mean, I catfish year round. I mean, that's my main income is, you know, the catfish and buffalo fish.
But I
I
think,
paddle fish on the side.
but I guess the thoughts are your 3-inch nets are gonna be catching paddlefish, right, correct?
I caught one eggfish last year out of my catfish nets. One eggfish, the whole season. One eggfish out of my catfish nets.
How many non-egg fish? Paddle-
Maybe 10 at the most. 10 paddlefish total out of my small mesh nets.
Are you able to release the paddlefish that you catch that are non-egg without harm from those
Yes, ma'am.
nets?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Except for the one eggfish. I mean, I kept the one eggfish. I pay $1,000 to, you know, be able to allow to harvest paddlefish. So I did keep the eggfish that I caught in my small mesh nets.
Anybody have any questions for him, or did you want to comment, Bobby?
Well, no, the only thing I was gonna comment on is the smaller fish, the bycatch, is what we're really more concerned about with and I'm not doubting a lot of those swam away, but a lot of those get tangled up, especially in that small mesh. It wraps around their gills and they can't respire.
If it's important for our commercial fishermen to be able to export our eggs again, and the federal regulations is gonna change for that based on what we've proposed in August, would you not want us to see us keep that? I mean, if it's gonna affect, if we change it again, and I mean, it looks to me like that the commercial fishermen would be pretty excited, the fact that to be able to export it.
Well, like I said, I mean, my main concern is being able to catch catfish, and under this, you know, I'll be severely limited on the catfishing part. Because if I put out, you know, 4 paddlefish nets and I'm only left, that leaves me with 8 sets for catfish.
How many normal catfish nets do you put out?
I usually try to put out around 20 when I go catfishing on the small mesh nets. I mean, the other 240 fishermen out there, I guess, you know, they have unlimited of the small mesh nets. And that isn't going to affect our export because, I mean, they can't even harvest paddlefish. I mean, if you want to, I mean, I'll release the paddlefish that I catch out of my small mesh nets. It's that, I mean, really, I mean, you're talking about one fish out of the whole season last year. I mean, that's not a big deal.
Bobby, would this change affect, and I'm sure you're talking about the CITES? Yeah, how would this affect that?
Excuse me, it could, because we tied in a lot of our regulations with bycatch as well as pressure. And the 12 that we came up with was something that we were in discussion with for a while, and we met with the advisory committee back in July and proposed that there's some fishermen recommended fewer than 12 nets, like 10 nets, commercial fishermen, not just us. And then some recommended 14 or 15.
But that was just for paddlefish only. That was for the large mesh nets only.
We don't speak over. Y'all know the rules. Y'all been around me for a couple of months now. Let's keep it like I asked.
Yes, sir.
So the 12 is a good number of nets that can be handled in one day by paddlefish fishermen, based on experience that Eric Gaines has had being out and seeing what a good number would be to run safely where the fish would survive. The problem is those 3 to 4.5 inch nets would just allow commercial fishermen to have, if we said unlimited nets again, they'd still be, maybe not, some would be intentionally, I'm sure, and some may not be, but they would still could use those nets to intentionally target more than just the 12 paddlefish nets. They could use the smaller nets, and that's what we're trying to redefine here and make sure that doesn't happen. But yes, to answer your original question, those regulations were put in place. They've been looked at by Fish and Wildlife Service for the CITES, and they're all dependent on each other. And a change from that, a deviation from what we originally proposed, could cause them to rescind their positive finding.
Okay, any other questions? for Mr. Vees? Thank you, sir. Do you have another comment?
Yes, sir. My name's Mark Butler. I live in Obion County, I fish the Mississippi River. My concern is that between, maybe I'm not fishing for paddlefish, but I hold a permit, and I need to go carp fishing or buffalo fishing. Is this going to change if I want to go catfishing during paddlefish season, that I can't go catfishing because I have a permit?
I think it's just gonna, it's not gonna keep you from going catfishing, it will just limit the number of nets you have as well.
Yes, sir. That's what I want to clarify. Thank you.
Am I correct in assuming that, Bobby?
He has a paddlefish permit, he's limited to 12 nets.
The Mississippi River?
Well, Mississippi River is still the number of nets, but the mesh size is different on the Mississippi River.
You can still go fish the catfish, you just are limited to the 12 nets.
Yeah, in between times. That's what I want to make sure of. Thank you.
Excuse me, after the paddlefish season, they can go back to unlimited nets on the smaller mesh size. So,
Dale Robertson, I'm a wholesale fish dealer. These other two guys are too. I think this will violate the state law about promoting our business, because we sell catfish and buffalo year round, and all three of us do that and spoonbill. If it's to put a number on the paddlefish, why can't we put, like they do, alligators or lobsters or whatever? If it's 4,000 fish, make it 4,000 fish and cut it off, whatever it is, or 3,000, whatever the number of fish is that we can sustain, and without limiting the people from being able to work and all this stuff. This ain't good.
Any comment? Did you want to answer that?
I don't disagree with that, but we're not close to being there anywhere. He's talking about some kind of quota, and we don't have a good handle on the fish population, and this time I don't think our paddlefish population is well enough to even have a manageable quota. We have no idea what that number will be right now.
When we get the export ability from the U.S. fisheries, does that not increase the value of your paddlefish? I mean, is it not going to enable you to make more money? I mean, I guess I keep going back to that, thinking that that's probably really important.
All of these regulations do make the price higher. It's a supply and demand. When it's real scarce, they're worth twice what they was last year, just because the supply's been cut in half, you know. And as far as the CITES, as far as my part of the business is concerned, it's not that big a deal to, my business is primarily set up, I wholesale fish, the catfish and buffalo. That's the way I make my living 12 months out of the year, not 4.5 months on the spoonbill. And all during the paddlefish time, I fished as much, if not harder than anybody. I caught 2 paddlefish with eggs in my small mash nets. We've done gave up 2 weeks and 2 inches, and we're arguing over me and these guys here will fish nearly every day. And he caught 1, he caught 2 or 3, and I caught 2 last year. We're limiting something, we're micromanaging something it's not really a problem. It's a very low number of fish. That's what I say. If the number of the fish is what we're worried about, put a number on them and then cut it off when we get that number. And let them in work. The permit deal too. I was told on Friday the 21st or something or other that they'd be cut off Monday morning, or I'd have had another permit myself. You know, I don't think that's very good notice on some of this stuff. You know, it was supposed to be 55, now it's 63, and the agency told me the cutoff was on the, I think the 24th or whatever, and then it actually went a week past that on this proclamation we got. It was November 1st, I think. And, you know, and that's shutting my man out of work on a lie, because we're not informed on all this stuff. And this meeting here, that's what I was gonna complain about, that's the only reason we're here now, we didn't even know this would be going on. We received a letter Monday saying that they were gonna bring it forward. They didn't date the time, the meeting, or nothing.
Are you saying that this meeting wasn't publicly noticed, this meeting?
All the commercial fishermen got a letter saying they were gonna propose changes, but they did not put a date, meeting, time, or nothing on it.
Sir, it's on, I mean, it was stated in October when we were gonna rule on this then. We had plenty of public notice for that. And they may have a letter to remind you, but that had nothing to do with it. It was publicly noticed in October. We would be making this decision on December 5th.
You understand that what's going on here is a liberalization of what we passed last month. Last month, the proclamation says nobody could fish but 12 nets all year. So this actually lets you fish an unlimited number of nets outside of paddlefish season if you have a paddlefish permit. That's what this is. This is not a restriction more than it was. It's a liberalization. So, you know, if we're gonna pass all these rules to protect the paddlefish, this one, and I understand what you're saying. I wish there was something we could do, but I think in your own admission that if you were catfishing and you've got a paddlefish permit and you catch an egg fish, you're gonna keep him.
Correct.
So if we don't limit that to 12 nets for paddlefish and just, and let everybody get out there and just say they're catfishing and catch paddlefish. So, you know, it kind of defeats the purpose, and maybe the men that are here don't do that, but the rules are set for the lowest common denominator in society. The bad guys make the rules for the good guys, and that's what this is. We gotta limit the bad guys from catching too many fish. I mean, that's just what it is, and I guess, you know, I don't know why you didn't get 2 permits when you bought one. Just buy another one. I mean, you know, it was
Eric Gaines told me on a late Friday afternoon, the cutoff was Monday morning, that was it. And then it went a week later after that.
well,
I did not.
but you got 1 permit. You had an opportunity to buy 2 at the time, didn't you? Didn't you?
Yeah,
You know.
Well, that's back into not knowing. I thought some of us are grandfathered in, we've had it forever, and I thought all the rest of those permits up to 55 go on sale for whoever. But now everybody's grandfathered in. Only the ones that bought them can get a permit. Nobody else can get into it, the way I understand the way that passed.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but your group supported that.
Correct?
So,
Yeah, to reduce it, the numbers. But,
and the grandfathering too.
Correct. Now, you know, there's no problem with the grandfathering on the ones that had bought them from originally, years ago. But the ones that weren't grandfathered in would be up for everybody, whoever. You weren't grandfathered in. Everybody would have an opportunity to, up to whatever number, to buy into it.
Well, I asked why we had 63 instead of 55. It's because the proclamation this rule law doesn't go into effect for 30 days or whatever, so more people went out there and bought permits.
Correct.
So I don't know why you didn't, but you got yours.
When I found out about it, it was, I was gonna wait till February and buy one, my son was, because everybody would have a shot at it. I wasn't trying to overinflate the numbers. You know, I agreed with the numbers.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be the 29 or whatever grandfathered in, and everybody else was the first come, first serve, you know. Whoever up to the 55, from that 29 to the 55, the whole state of Tennessee had an opportunity to get it. That wasn't restricting anybody. And if they weren't sold, they went away, and the following year, the same thing. But the way it actually came out in the proclamation, the grandfathered ones get it, and everybody else is grandfathered in it, and nobody has a shot to go fishing. And I just don't think that's right. I mean, I agree with the whole premise of it. I'm for managing the resource. It makes me money.
I thought you agreed with limited entry.
I do.
Okay, then I'm not sure, I don't understand your point about nobody having an opportunity to go fishing. You got your permit and they sold more than what that we voted on, so I'm not following what your problem is.
The 29 would always get their permit. The rest of them should be open to everybody. If it don't sold, it goes away. But the way it passed, it's everybody that has one is the only one can ever have one.
Can I clear one clarification? That's when, until we get down to 40. We get less than 40, if for some reason somebody doesn't buy one, and that one permit goes back open, to anybody.
But I just don't think that's fair to everybody else in the state of Tennessee. They don't have the opportunity to do it. That, they should be that, from the 29 to the 55 or 63 or whatever we got, that one there should be open to everybody. And if it don't get sold, it cuts back down. Everybody should have a free shot at it, is my opinion on that.
Then everybody ought to have a free shot at all 55 of them.
Well,
Suit you, cause you want
I know,
29 protected.
I said, well, that's,
Okay, yeah, I
You know,
understand.
I'm good for that. You know, that's I just don't like a man not being able to work. You understand what I'm saying?
I know.
Even if it's gotta be everybody gotta take a shot at it, I'd rather it be a lottery and everybody have to get it as the limit.
Yeah. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
I don't think anybody's trying to restrict your ability to work. I think you just got to understand we got a limited resource we don't have all the control over even how much opportunity we can give you. We've reached a point though that we've changed our regulations that now you can export and you get your CITES for it. So I think we proved that we're working for you. The liberalization that we're trying to do from the regulations in August has been it's to try to help you for your catfish and all. So I think that we're trying to reach out and respond to you.
If we don't gripe about the nets, could we make that one change where anything over the 29 was for everybody, up to the 62 or 3, whatever? Be a first come, first serve after the 29.
Yeah, I don't think we could do that now. I don't know. We can't make that change now. We're going to vote today, and that wouldn't be noticed. There may be a lot of people disagree with you as far as the grandfather end of the license and all.
Well, I'm not talking about the 29 that's grandfathered in. Leave them like they are and make that open to everybody above that. How do we do that? I know we got to do things precisely since all the crap, but
Bobby, would you explain what
We're trying to get the pressure down to 40 residents and I forgot how many, not 5 non-residents.
between 29 and the 34 that sold, the impression that Dale has that they weren't open to everybody.
The 29 are the people that have been grandfathered in since we first started the permit. They've been buying a permit every year that permit is available through today. Those are guaranteed a permit. How we settle on the 55, originally we were recommending like 48, 49. But in discussion with the Commercial Fishing Advisory Committee, we settled on 55 because we felt like there'd be a few more people wanting to buy there at the end. Those people from the 29 to the 55, it was open to anybody that wanted it at the time. And then, I think, am I right, Eric, on that? Okay, but then, of course, like you mentioned, the proclamation didn't go into effect for 30 days, so the regulation didn't go into effect, so we couldn't deny a person the permit until it goes into effect. So there was 8 more people that got wind of it that decided they wanted to go ahead and get a permit. Over time, even the 29 people, if they choose not to buy their permit next year, they lose, they're done. Until we get down below 40, and then there's a chance that we get down below 40, like I mentioned, that there'll be some available to anybody.
Between 29 and 63, those 34 were available to anybody that wanted them.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
They're already available. I mean,
they're not now.
no, because they've already been sold.
Yeah, but you notice how he put that, a lot of them bought them when they caught wind of it. That's really noticing everybody what's going on. They'd have been probably more than that sold. Had they knew about it, that's my whole point. I would have, he'd have got his, brother would have got one, but we didn't catch wind of it.
People did, between the 26 people that bought them. I mean, it was time for
There was
you to
about
come back.
10 that caught it, yeah. And I called to check on it, and Eric Gannis told me on that Friday afternoon, Monday morning was the cutoff, it was done. And it went on a week past that, from the 24th to whatever the 1st of November was, because of the regulation of the sign-in or whatever takes so many days. you know. Yeah, had I caught wind of that, I would have got one and he would have too. But I was willing to, that was fine if we went back toward above the 29 was just take your chance of getting one or not getting one. But now, nobody has a chance to get one unless you had bought one before November 1st, which you were only told about. The cutoff was supposed to have been in October 24th or something. You know, this is, it's,
Did you buy more than one before October 23rd?
yeah, well, see, up till November 1st you could on the actual proclamation. When the Secretary of State signs, it takes 30 days or whatever to take effect. That's how we went from the 55 to the 63.
So you had the opportunity to buy it.
When I caught wind of it, I called to check on it.
I mean, before that cutoff date.
Before that, but had I known about it in time before the cutoff, yes. But, you know, when I caught wind of it and called, it was that Friday afternoon to the Monday morning.
When you renewed yours, could you have bought it one then at that time?
Yeah.
When you renewed you could have bought it then, but you were waiting, and you were waiting because
Well, my son was the one who was gonna get it.
he waited.
Well, yeah, we were fishing together, and then he was going to come, instead of buying one now, and for $1,000 is a lot of money for a couple of months, you know, where it's only a 4.5 month season. He's gonna wait till February when the license renewed. You know, we were under the impression that everybody in the state would have a shot if there was 20 or 30, whatever, you know, and if they didn't sold, they went away.
Well, this was kind of a one-time deal that won't repeat itself, right? This deal. I mean, from now on, the next year, they'll know how to do that.
Well,
But
next year,
nobody else will.
it's limited to the 63 people that
That
bought.
have a license.
Until we get down below 40, as I mentioned, once we get down below 40, those permits will be available to the first come. Our original recommendation was, with the proclamation, we voted to have 55. We really didn't want 63, but that's the way it ended up because of the delay in when the proclamation went into effect, so.
All right. Is there any other comments you have, sir? All right, any questions from the commission?
I'm really thinking what he's saying, there's no way we can act on it this year. I mean, the proclamation has already been passed, so there's no way that we can do anything about it. It can be, I'm assuming, brought up next year, but.
Is there anything we could do before February when the license renewed?
I have a question. If we're still working on the proclamation,
Yeah.
then the proclamation has not been, time has not passed. Is that right or wrong?
No, the original proclamation is passed. This is an amendment to the proclamation, I believe.
That's what I don't understand. You just amended this other proclamation a half a dozen times, and but we can't do nothing until next year on this.
It's because of public notice is the reason it's gonna be difficult. And I guess,
Well, he says the public's been noticed back in October, and this is all good.
Can I make one other comment?
sure,
Go back to CITES again. We told them 63 permits. And that's what they base their positive finding on. Any increase in that could change their positive finding again.
The 63 would be fine if the above the 29 was first come, first served.
We may never get below 40 like we're trying to get.
grandfathered in.
Right now you do.
29, and people could keep on buying and buying and buying. We're trying to get that number down to 40. We'd never get down there.
Stand it, then, if next year one of the 63 does not renew it, then we're down to 62. And then we're eventually gonna try to get to 40.
Right.
Chairman Milne, ask council if she'd like to make any comments on this.
With all due respect, that particular issue is not related today. The issue before you is the amendment regarding the number of nights. If that issue would have to be brought before you in a formal manner at another
All right, so what we're gonna vote on today is the amendment, which is the number of nets to proclamation 14-18, correct? Okay. And then we can look into what the opportunity would be at a future date then, okay? I can't promise you anything, but it'll be discussed, okay?
All right.
Thank you, sir. So do we have any other discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I have one other comment. Say I'm not paddle fishing there every day. I fish the Mississippi River, and it's pretty well a dead issue with the water temperature going down. And I'm going to go fish for Asian carp and buffalo only. Is my net still going to be limited to 12?
Yes, if you have a paddlefish permit, it is.
Yeah. So
During the paddlefish season.
So that limits me to not be able to fish significant with only 12 nets, where the other fishermen, even though I'm not fishing for paddlefish, I'm only chasing Asian carp, as I'm getting into pretty heavy. And I don't see it. Most of the time, I only fish probably 8 to 10 paddlefish nets anyway, because the territory is so widespread on the Mississippi River. So I just wanted to find out if I'm going to be limited to 12 nets, regardless whether I'm fishing for paddlefish or not.